Så där, då har vi ljud. Varsågod. Släcker du lampan här? Så. Kör. Den kör. Så hör du att det blir rätt. Så, hallå. 1, 2, 3. Ja. Ja, jo. Jag ska bara tänka ut vad jag ska säga. Who are you? And please tell me your name and... Could you please tell me your name and the function here at NEVS?
Yeah, I'm Anders Bjornberg, and I'm responsible for the electric vehicle projects here at NEVS within technical development.
And how come you started here at NEVS? Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I mean, I have a long background in the automotive industry in Sweden. I've worked for 3 of the 4 manufacturers here, and mostly within the field of electrical electronics. So I actually was responsible for electrical electronics development here at Saab when we launched the 9.3 back in the 2002. And for me it was a natural step when NEVS was formed here after the bankruptcy to contact and to see if there was any possibility to help in some way. So I actually started up within purchasing, since I knew all the old suppliers from in the electrical arena, so to say. And after that we decided that I moved to technical development. So I've been within technical development now since a bit more than half a year.
And you're developing the electric car, and Saab, they had something called the 9.3 zero emission or e-power before. Did you guys use this as sort of a base from where you were supposed to start, or did you start over from scratch, or how did you do it?
Somewhere in between, I should say. We haven't used so many solutions from the SEDI, the zero emission, but we have used some of the same people who were involved in that project. So we have used their experience and knowledge to say start at the right level. So more or less from a technical or supplier and component and system point of view, it's a different development than the SEDI. I mean, the most obvious is that we have now the complete battery pack under the car instead of using the third place in the rear seat and having this high tunnel and so on.
You have not compromised luggage room or leg space or any type of compartment space at all in the car, but you've actually put the batteries strictly under the car. So let's talk a bit about specifications of the car in terms of technical. Let's start at the front. What type of engine is it, and who makes it?
It's a conventional electric motor, asynchronous motor. This one is actually from a company called AC Propulsion in California. It's a commercially available motor which has been used by many others for prototyping. So it's we are using it in a 100 kilowatt version. We have also the inverter from the same company. We have a reduction gearbox from Borg Warner. So it's a single-speed gearbox with electromechanical park lock functionality.
And cooling systems, etc. for the battery. We talked a little bit when we were driving here about optimum temperature, that it's supposed to be like a human being.
Yeah, more or less. I think with this chemistry that we are using here, that's lithium iron phosphate. It's around 25-30 degrees is the ideal temperature, and to get it there, to keep it there, so to say, we understand that we need to have both active cooling and active heating actually of the battery. However, in this version of the prototype, also due to timing reasons, we are not having any climate system for the battery. The motor and the inverter, they are air cooled in this version as well. But as I said before, we are not using these cars to, so to say, see the maximum performance. It's more to have all the company involved here in actually driving the cars. We have built the cars in our manufacturing flow here, so it's completely built. So everyone in manufacturing have been involved in producing these cars. So And we have verified both how to do it, and also we can verify some levels of the specifications that we need to have on a production car.
So let's say the batteries, they are built by Nev's mother company, is that right?
Yeah, it's a sister company, we should say, but it's a company in the same group as Nev, with the Kaiyuan Yang as the owner. So they are built in Beijing, China.
And this whole project, I mean, with the electric car, where did it start with Nevs? I mean, why go electric?
I mean, then we are going back to the basic idea of Nevs with Kaiyuan Yang, who has built up a number of, I think they're up to 40 to 50 now, biomass power plants in China. He has built up his own battery manufacturing, and the next step to make also the transportation more green, cars, is a natural evolvement, so to say, and so that is in the root of the Nev's brand to have electric cars. And then we have started now, and we see a lot of things that need to be developed further, but we are on track, at least now, I would say.
So it's part of his full vision, let's say, of the future of propulsion there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Battery charging, what kind of standards and protocols have you guys used?
In these cars, actually, we are using standard household electric outlet, so 16 amp, 220 volts. When we are looking at the future, we will of course support both bigger currents and also fast charging. And we are looking both at the European standard and the Chinese standard. And actually, right now, there is cooperation starting between Europe and China here to have a common standard on fast charging.
All right. You've placed the batteries at the bottom of the car, and you've also replaced the fuel tank. What does that do to the weight distribution of the car?
The weight distribution is, with this installation, very close to 50-50 between front and rear, so it's a good weight distribution, absolutely. That's
also what modern other car makers are using on their normal cars, am I right?
Yeah, I think most strive to have a quite similar weight distribution front and rear axle.
Let's say passenger comfort, air conditioning and similar items, how does that work with the electric car?
We have for cooling, we have a high voltage electric air conditioning compressor. So there you will have the possibility of having same comfort as in a conventional car. And for heating, we are actually having a electric heater that heats up the cooling water that, so to say, goes into the heating system, normal heating system of the car here. And we have decided not to have any fuel-fired heater or anything like that in this car, because we also would like to evaluate how much does this comfort, so to say, intimidate on driving distance and range and so on.
Of course, there's always a penalty when you turn the things on. Is there any way to use some kind of heat exchanging system from the batteries heat to use as the cabin heat as well?
Yeah, I mean, the next generation we are looking to have liquid cooled both drive system and battery pack, and of course we will use the excess heat from those systems to also heat the passenger compartment. Yes,
that's very interesting. Chassis wise, I drove the car a couple of laps on the test track, and I was extremely surprised how well it handles. It's easily comparable with the 9.3 Aero standard chassis, even though this one is much higher. It uses the 9.3X chassis, right?
Yes, that's right. And but I mean, we have been using proven components from the Saab 9.3 that has been used previously in the car's history, and I think it's a quite well-balanced car to start with. So it was. We haven't done any magic. We have just tried to adapt as good as we could.
Also with sound, I mean, the car is very, very quiet. When you drove up next to us when we were standing outside, I could barely hear you. I barely saw you. And I've driven the Tesla, both the Roadster and the Model S, as well as the i3 from BMW. and all of them have this, let's say, alternator sound. It's almost a little bit like wheeling sound from the electric sound. This car doesn't have that. I couldn't, at least I couldn't hear it.
No, I think that is what we are most, so to say, satisfied with this car, I must say, because both engine sound, gearbox sound, but also wind noise and road noise from the tires is quite good in the car, I must say. And once again, we haven't done deliberately any modifications. I mean, that is the base car that we have used that have these good properties from the start.
That's really amazing. Weight-wise, the car obviously weighs a bit more. How much?
It weighs about 1,850 kilos. So we have added net approximately 300 kilos to the 9.3 Aero, and that is 450 kilo batteries plus, and then the powertrain is, on the other hand, lighter than the conventional powertrain.
Let's talk about energy production in the car, regeneration, these kind of things. This prototype didn't have any type of regeneration, except for when I released the throttle, I could feel that it started to regenerate. I mean, in the production version, what kind of things are you looking at to add in that car?
This is one of the things that we are evaluating now. So we are discussing both to have a regeneration level that you can control with your foot, with the accelerator pedal. That is one alternative, or having different driving modes for, because I mean, when you're driving highway driving, you don't need that or want that much regeneration. Then you rather like the sailing function. While in city driving, it's very good to have quite a lot of regeneration. So those two alternatives are being evaluated right now, I should say.
Can you explain that sailing function to people who don't know what it is?
No, it's more or less, I mean, you are Saab. It's the freewheeling that was on the old Saab V4 and 96 and so on here. It's more or less that you disconnect the powertrain and just let the car roll instead to use as much as possible of the kinetic energy that is available.
That's a brilliant function indeed. Oh, back to the roots in a brand new car.
Yes, actually that is true.
Mostly impressive. And brakes in terms of regeneration?
I think we gonna, so to say, use regeneration to do as much of the braking work as possible, so to say, depending of course on road condition and everything else around it. You need to be safe, but you need to regenerate as much as possible. That is also a good thing to work on.
How about other models, let's say, of the 9.3, the 9.3 Sport Combi or convertible? The convertible is obviously heavier than the other cars, even though it's missing the roof. You have a lot of extra safety, protection, etc. Is there possible to make an electric version of these two types as well?
I can just speak principally then, and yes, it is possible, but there is no, so to say, I cannot comment on future products.
No, of course. I think we hope that it's going to turn out that way. I'd like to thank you very much for today. It was great fun, and thank you very much.
Thank you.